Before we begin today's story, take a moment to subscribe if you enjoy emotionally driven stories that stay with you long after the video ends. These stories aren't loud or rushed, they quietly settle into your heart. It was supposed to be a simple day, the kind of day parents plan weeks in advance, only for it to pass in a blur of laughter, noise, and half-eaten cake. My son had been counting down to his birthday for months. Every morning he would remind me how many days were left, like time itself was something he could hold in his hands if he tried hard enough. And finally, the day arrived. The house filled with energy before the guests even showed up. Balloons lined the walls, slightly uneven but perfect in his eyes. The dining table was covered with snacks he had personally approved, most of them sugar, of course. By the afternoon, the house was alive. Children's laughter echoed through every room. Running footsteps, playful arguments, the constant sound of something being dropped or knocked over. It was chaos, but the good kind. The kind you don't realize you'll miss until it's gone. I watched him from across the room at one point, standing there surrounded by his friends, smiling in that effortless way only children can. And for a moment, everything felt right, simple, complete. Even the small things felt meaningful, like the way he carefully thanked each friend for their gift, or how he made sure no one felt left out during the games. That's just who he was, thoughtful, quietly kind. As the evening began to settle, parents started arriving to pick up their children. One by one, the noise faded. The house, which had felt so full just minutes ago, slowly returned to silence. By nightfall, it was just the two of us again. I started cleaning up, gathering empty plates, folding decorations, throwing away wrapping paper that had lost its excitement the moment it was opened. He was quieter now, not unusual, just the natural calm after a long, exciting day. Or at least that's what I told myself. "Did you have a good day?" I asked, glancing over at him. He nodded. "Yeah, it was really good." But something about the way he said it felt distant. Not wrong, just not the same. I didn't push. Sometimes kids just get tired. Sometimes silence doesn't mean anything at all. Later that night, after everything was cleaned and the house had finally settled, I checked on him before going to bed. His room was dimly lit. He was sitting on his bed, not playing, not on his phone, just sitting there, thinking. That alone made me pause. "Hey," I said softly, "you should get some rest. Big day, huh?" He looked up at me, and for a brief second, there was something in his expression I couldn't quite place. Not sadness, not fear, just something heavier than a child should carry after a birthday party. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I will." I stood there a moment longer than I needed to, waiting without knowing what I was waiting for. But he didn't say anything else, so I turned off the light and closed the door halfway, just like I always did. That night should have ended there, just another birthday, another memory, another ordinary day. But it didn't, because sometimes it's not the loud moments that change everything. It's the quiet ones, the ones you almost ignore, the ones that don't make sense until it's too late. And what I discovered the next morning was something I was never prepared for. The next morning didn't feel unusual at first. Sunlight filtered through the curtains the same way it always did. The house was quiet, calm, almost too calm after the chaos of the night before. I walked into the kitchen expecting the usual routine: breakfast, school, a normal start to the day. But something felt off. It wasn't something I could immediately explain, just a subtle shift, like a room that looks the same but somehow feels different. I called out his name. No answer. That wasn't like him. He was never the type to ignore me, especially in the mornings. Thinking he might still be asleep, I walked toward his room and gently pushed the door open. His bed was empty, the blanket slightly folded like he had gotten up early. Again, not impossible, but unusual. A small knot of concern began to form in my chest. I checked the bathroom, empty. Living room, nothing. That's when I noticed it. The front door wasn't fully closed. It was slightly open, just enough for the morning air to slip inside. My heart dropped. I stepped closer, pushing the door open slowly, my mind racing through possibilities I didn't want to consider. Maybe he just stepped outside, I whispered to myself, but something inside me knew it wasn't that simple. I grabbed my phone and called his name again, louder this time. Still nothing. That's when the silence stopped feeling peaceful and started feeling wrong. I quickly stepped outside, scanning the street. Everything looked normal, Neighbors going about their day, a car passing by, the world moving forward like nothing had changed. But for me, everything had. I went back inside, trying to stay calm. Think, don't panic. There had to be a reason. And then I saw it. On the table, near the leftover decorations from the night before, was a small piece of paper, folded, left carefully, as if it was meant to be found. My hands felt cold as I picked it up. For a second, I hesitated, because deep down, I already knew whatever was written inside wasn't going to be simple. Slowly, I unfolded it. My eyes moved across the words, and in that moment, the world around me seemed to go completely still. It wasn't long, it wasn't dramatic, but it was enough. Enough to change everything I thought I understood about that night. Enough to make me realize that while I was busy celebrating, something else had been quietly happening, something I hadn't seen, something I hadn't asked about, and now it was already too late to ignore it. My grip tightened on the paper as 100 thoughts rushed through my mind at once. Where did he go? Why didn't he tell me? What did I miss? I looked back toward the open door, the morning light now feeling harsh instead of warm. This wasn't just a child stepping out early. This was a decision. And decisions, especially quiet ones, don't happen without a reason. I didn't waste another second. Grabbing my keys, I rushed outside again, my heart pounding louder with every step, because whatever had started the night before had just turned into something much bigger, and I had a feeling this was only the beginning. I don't remember how long I stood there, just staring at the note in my hands. It felt like time had slowed down, like the world was waiting for me to understand something I wasn't ready to face. My eyes moved over the words again. Simple, careful, written in his handwriting. I am sorry. That was the first line. And somehow it was the heaviest. Below it, just a few more sentences. Not long, not detailed, but enough to break something inside me. I didn't want to ruin the day. I didn't know how to say it. I just need some time to think. That was it. No explanation, no location, just distance. A deep breath caught in my chest as everything from the night before came rushing back. The quiet, the way he answered me, the look in his eyes. It all made sense now. Or maybe it didn't. Because the truth is, sometimes understanding comes too late to be useful. I pressed the paper tightly in my hand, trying to stay calm. Think, I whispered to myself. Where would he go? He didn't have many close friends nearby. He wasn't the type to wander aimlessly. He was careful, thoughtful. So this wasn't random. This was planned. And that realization made it even harder to breathe. I stepped outside again, scanning the street as if he might suddenly appear, but he didn't. The world kept moving, completely unaware that mine had just shifted. I tried calling him once, twice, again. Each time it went unanswered, not turned off, just ignored. That hurt more than I expected, because it meant he saw my name on the screen and chose silence. I got into my car, my hands still slightly shaking. Places. Think of places. The park he used to like when he was younger, the small cafe he once mentioned going to with a friend, the bookstore he visited sometimes, even if he never bought anything. I drove to all of them, one by one, hoping, searching, but every place gave me the same answer. Nothing. Hours passed, but it felt like minutes and years at the same time. With every failed stop, the weight in my chest grew heavier. Not just fear, but something else, something deeper. Guilt. Because somewhere in all of this, I couldn't stop asking myself one question. How did I not see this? He lived in the same house, sat across from me at dinner, spoke to me every day. And yet, whatever he was carrying, he carried it alone. By the time I returned home, the silence felt different. Not empty, but accusing. Like the walls themselves were asking the same question I couldn't answer. I walked back to the table and picked up the note again. This time, I noticed something I had missed before. At the very bottom, almost as if he had hesitated before writing it, there was one last line, smaller than the rest, almost hidden. It's not your fault. My eyes stayed on those words longer than anything else, because somehow they made it worse. Some silences carry more truth than words ever could. And sometimes the hardest part isn't losing someone.